I wanted to make a video going over the difference between the Eberlstock Recon and the Eberlstock Bravo. I think some of the differences are a lot more noticeable when you compare them side by side. You'll notice the overall design is pretty much the same. The Recon does only have that kind of stretch fabric going down the middle, whereas the Bravo's full front pocket is that stretch material. Both the Recon and the Bravo have these stretchy side pockets, as well as both having these two panels of Molle on the side. One of the main differences you'll see between the two is how this flap actually attaches. So on the Recon, you have a magnet here, as well as when you fold it down, there's a magnet at the bottom to keep it so your Bino harness stays open. The Bravo, on the other hand, has these elastic tabs on both sides, and once you finally fold it down, it's very tight. On the back side, you also have the option to remove this Velcro, and you can adjust the tension on both sides with those two tabs right there. While we're here on the back, I might as well mention as well, there is a Velcro panel. So if you were to attach something like a different pouch, this Velcro, you could have a dangler here. As an example, I've got this little kilo fanny sack pouch, and just kind of shows you some of the options that this rig offers. Recon has this option as well, but the Velcro is just slightly smaller. For those of you wondering why get rid of the magnet and replace it with the elastic tabs, having a magnet right there centered on your chest where you're holding something like a compass or a ballistic calculator might potentially throw those devices off. And so having something that for sure doesn't interfere is kind of why they did it. Another thing that the Bravo offers that the Recon doesn't, it's a Molle down here at the bottom. Again, if you wanted to attach something down here at the bottom, you now have that option, whereas with the Recon, you don't. Another thing you'll notice is that the way that these shoulder straps actually attach to the harness are different between the Recon and the Bravo. One of the other main differences is how the back panel is designed. Here on the Recon, you have 3 different layers of Molle, whereas on the Bravo, you have something similar, but it's a little bit more breathable and thin. And that kind of leads me to the final thing that I will show you guys, which is how these chest rigs actually sit on your body. So here on the Recon, you kind of have this thin layer of this breathable air mesh material. And when you get to the back panel, it's really just like another layer, but really you just have kind of a layer of fabric resting on your body and supporting that weight that is in your chest harness. And to be honest, that's always been enough just because I don't really have a ton of weight in my Bino harness. But what I actually think is a big upgrade is adding in this thicker layer of this air mesh where you can actually feel a layer of padding, not only here on the chest panel, but also here on the back straps. Actually feels like it's doing a lot more. I also think kind of having this be just one layer that makes it a lot more breathable is also just nice to have. One thing you'll notice too is that the straps on the Bravo are actually wider than the straps on the Recon, which again, if this is something that you're packing weight on, like you got your Bino harness, you got, magazine pouches on both sides that are loaded, you can start throwing some weight on this thing, and having wider, more padded straps actually does make a pretty big difference. You really can't go wrong with either option. I think the Recon is kind of what they're branding more towards hunters, whereas the Bravo is what they're branding more towards kind of that tactical space or competitive shooter space. Yeah, my thoughts on them, go check it out.